sometimes it's really hard to do, but sometimes you gotta clear your head. This world is noisy as hell some days, and my head can be a really noisy place. And like I was sitting down to do a video today, and anyway, it was just noisy and it was like just going every which way. I was like, it was kind of chaotic. And I know I've been needing to rest, and like I really need to rest. And I've had a lot going on, and I'm like trying to finish up some things right now. But I want to get some things done and then take a rest. But sometimes your body tells you to take a rest. But the one thing that, like, I was sitting here and I was just like, my head was like really chaotic earlier today. And I'm not meaning like, bad. I'm just saying I was trying to focus on a message and I couldn't focus on it. So you've got to clear your head some days. And clearing your head is easier said than done some days. Like sometimes I can like just kind of clear it and like everything just clears out. And today it was like extra noisy. And like whenever I would get on a train of thought, God would get me pointed in a direction on a message, and then all of a sudden it would just like stop and go on to something else. And I was like, this just doesn't work today. So anyway, and like I said, I've been needing to rest. So anyway, I took a nap for a minute. And it was basically just long enough to reset. I mean, it was not like 5 minutes of sleep. But I woke up and my head was clear. And I said, oh, clearing the noise. God said, yeah, some days you got to talk about how to clear the noise whenever everything is loud. Okay. One thing I noticed today was whenever I tried, as soon as I got up today, everything was just like, I would have like 10 seconds on this thought. It's kind of a ADD day. And I don't really have those that bad anymore. Some days I do, but I've learned to live with it. I mean, it's kind of like part of me, and it's kind of what makes me me. And like each day, you just kind of have to, each day you have a different challenge within yourself. Each one of us does. Like whatever's a problem one day might not be the problem the next day. Some days, something else can be the struggle. But it's about figuring out what the struggle is at that moment, dealing with that struggle, and then, realigning yourself each day, realigning yourself with your higher self. And one thing I found today, though, was I just could not clear my head. So what did I do? I laid down for a minute. God told me I'm like really tired. I've had a lot of stressful things going on lately. And, you know, I needed to like lay down, and I just laid down long enough to reset my head. That's all I did. I laid down, I woke back up, my head's clear, and I had my message clearing your head. And some days you just gotta like sometimes I can sit down and like in a meditative state for a moment and just like focus on nothing. And yeah, I know that's kind of like counterintuitive that you can focus on nothing, but you kind of like learn to after a while. And like some days I can just sit there and like just focus on like the energy around me and just kind of like pull it back into me and then like make sure there's like nothing drawing my energy, and I like cut that if there is. And today was just a little different though. But usually I can sit there and go into my meditative state and I can clear myself. And then some days you can't though. And today was one of those days I just couldn't. And it's a struggle. And God wants us to learn different tricks, learn different tools to use to reset us, to reset ourselves and get back to 0 point energy and getting back to God consciousness, getting back to our true self and tuning out the noise. See, the world wants to tell you about what's important. And honestly, most of what the world tells you is bullshit. Most of what the world tells you need to be worrying about are not things that you can control anyway. And honestly, it's not stuff that if you weren't told it, you probably wouldn't even consider it. Because once you start tuning out the noise, then you start getting to the point that hey, I'm seeing a different set of things than what everybody's telling me. You will. See, that's all about tuning out the noise of the world. Tuning out, you know, it's like realizing that you're kind of the center of your own little universe and that God is actually the center of that universe. And it's getting back to be like, hey, things that you can't control, like the bigger picture items, you have to let those go and let God handle those things. And usually I can clear those out too. And like today though, it was just like my head wasn't chaotic at all. It was just like I would have a thought and it would like start on one thing and it would like go 100 different ways. And I was just like, I can't focus right now. Like I sat down to try this message for a moment and nothing. I just sat down and I just stared for a moment and I couldn't even hit record on the camera. I was like, this is just not going to work, and I went and I meditated some more because I always like shower and then meditate, do my message. I kind of have like you know, I have a little tradition here. I kind of go through some things. And then whenever I just could not do it today. And anyway, I sat there and I like sat in front of the camera a minute, stared, and was just like, I just tried to, and I'd sit here and tried to meditate. Went back to my meditation spot, tried that again. Didn't work. And anyway, while I was sitting there, God just told me, He said, go lay down for a few minutes. So I obliged. I wasn't feeling well anyway. So I went back and I laid down actually. And like I got sleepy, like really sleepy. And I did not sleep very long, like maybe 5 minutes. But I woke up and I was like, my head was clear. I reset. See, sleep is like a reset to the body, the mind particularly. You know, you don't have to sleep a long time sometimes. Sometimes it's just about sleeping just long enough to, let the system reboot. And I hate to kind of have to use computer terms, but it's kind of basically the way we work. And, you kind of need to like let the brain reboot. And like, you're kind of like defragmenting the hard drive, we'll kind of say. I know you don't have to do that. Like, I guess you still do on like certain things. But anyway, whenever you kind of like, you turn it off and it like kind of goes into defrag while you're sleeping. It kind of takes all those little fragments of pieces that you were having floating around and it kind of puts them all together. And that's what today was. It was just kind of I needed to like reflect for a minute. And, God's really been telling me the last few days that you need to rest. That's like He's been screaming that at me. And I've been trying to. But I have things that I want to get done that are stressing me out to do. And part of that is, like getting those things done. But, it's like this. God says, your rest and spiritual side is more important than anything on this planet. Because without that, I have nothing else. Without my spiritual side and my relationship with God, I really don't have anything else. And once I have that, then the other things just kind of like start falling into place. It was like a couple of days ago, I was talking about, trusting my intuition. My intuition that night was finishing up my garden. And it's worked out good. And like I've still got some plants to set here and there, but guess what? The big chunk of it's done, and I'm just watching it grow now. So, it's all just about some days that we, you know, trust in that intuition. And today, clearing your head is a hard thing to do. And it's something that each one of us has to learn how to do on our own. Clearing out all the noise and saying, and whenever you look at the noise, well, what of this noise is actually important? And you're going to find very little of it's actually important to you and important to your happiness. You know, People like to make you think that the noise they spew is more important than other noise because that's how they, validate themselves. Oh yeah, my noise is more important than your noise is. But really, is their noise important to you? Honestly, you're going to look out and if you really, really start the inflection process, you're going to go through the inflection process and say, no, your noise really is not important. And the more important people think their noise is, the less important, honestly, they are. And, that's when you start realizing, is my noise very important? No, not really. But I try to help you with my noise. And, maybe our noise aligns right now that, hey, the noise that I'm saying is noise you need to hear right now. And sometimes the little bit of noise that someone is spewing is the noise that you need to hear to be able to clear your head, say, or to sort out a problem that you're going through. Sorting out the problems are the biggest part. And it's like this, realizing what you need to worry about, which is very little. If you start trusting to God and trust the universe with things, turns out you probably will be okay. That's not saying that you don't need to put forth effort sometimes. If I allow myself, it's about knowing where to put forth the effort though. It's about knowing, well, which way should I point my effort toward? And that's part of clearing your head. Whenever you clear out all the noise, then you can get down to the pure self, the pure energy, and pure God, and realize, hey, this is where I need to be pointing today. And whenever you start pointing in a positive direction and you start pointing in a direct direction to your goals and toward your ultimate happiness, that's the direction that you need to be going. Whenever you clear out the noise, and certain people, if you have people in your life that are constantly bringing chaos to your life, you got to figure out how to hit the mute button with those people. Okay? Sometimes you got to boot them. And it's like this. You have to do what's right for you, not right for them. And again, I'll tell you this, before you boot people out of your life, check with God, and make sure. But if God tells you they need to go, just listen to it. And, whenever people sit there and they, and then people who bring calm to your life, hey, you might want to spend more time there. But ultimately, spend more time with God and spend more time with yourself, and you find that your need for others is minimized. And it's like this, I love people that I can be around and that, I respect them, they respect me, and we can go in a positive direction together. But they're few and far between. And you have to learn how to find the ones, you have to learn to find yourself, clear out the noise, and get back to yourself first. Then you can start rolling with others. Then you can start going in a different direction. You can start going in the direction that you need to with people. See, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. So you just got to clear out the noise and say, are you with me or are you against me? And you've got to figure out, first of all, are you for you or are you against you? If you're allowing the noise to win, you are against yourself, which is hard to believe. But each day, I have to sit here and clear out the noise and say, if I listen to that noise, I end up working against me. And I don't like working against me. God doesn't like me working against me. God says, you're listening to the noise again. Clear it out. And I clear the noise. God clears the noise. God teaches us how to clear the noise. So find you a quiet spot to meditate and clear the noise. And if people are around you bringing in chaos, you can remove them from your environment or remove yourself from that environment. There's all kinds of ways to clear the noise. Sometimes you need to turn off the TV and whatever you're watching. If it's not bringing you peace, love, and joy, you know what to do there. I'm not going to tell you what to do because you have to decide that for yourself. But whenever you start looking at, hey, what's good for me? Learn how to clear the noise each day. Clear the noise and get back to God. Get back to the basics. Get back to you and God and nobody else. And once you get down to that, then you can start moving forward. But just clear the noise out. Turn the volume down. Mute them if you have to. You know, you hold the remote control. God holds the remote control too. God can mute everybody. But it's like this, God's like, hey, if you ask me for help, I'll help you mute others and help you mute all the noise inside of you that needs to be calmed. But once you mute that noise, then you can start seeing what you need to see. And God will say, here's the noise that you need to listen to, which is not a whole lot, but it's the true noise, the true you, the true self, and you can have true happiness then. Anyway, I'm Josh. I love you. God loves you. Peace.